Here's another story. This one came out of the Tennessean. You know, now I am a Tennessean here in Nashville. So I saw this story. Mom says woman killed in police shootout had troubled childhood. No opportunity for change now. Okay. Okay. Notice here in this headline, I'm not getting any details about what actually happened. Here's what I know from the headline. The police killed this woman and she had a hard childhood. Okay. Now, because I'm seeing all these excuses in the headline, I'm going into this and I'm thinking, this woman must have done something really bad. Because if you're loading up all the excuses and clouding up all the details in the headline, you know this is, whatever this woman did is really bad. Turns out I was right. The mother of a 31-year-old woman who died Friday after an exchange of gunfire, doesn't say who shot first, doesn't say who pulled the gun first, an exchange of gunfire with a Nashville police officer, says her daughter was wrong for pulling a gun. Oh, you don't say pulling a gun on the cop. Well, maybe the cop was shooting at her first. You think that was happening? Nobody thinks that's what happened, but still, in the story, it's still possible that that's what happened. But Lisa Holbert Gooch, who took in her niece Nika Holbert at age 8 and adopted the girl and her younger siblings, said she is disturbed by the actions of the Metro Nashville police officer who stopped Holbert. Okay, well, she's saying, okay, yeah, the girl shouldn't have pulled a gun and tried to shoot cops, but you know, they kind of had it coming because they had some very disturbing actions. Okay, what were those actions? Gooch questions whether Officer Josh Baker followed basic traffic stop safety protocols leading up to the deadly shooting, while Police Chief John Drake said Saturday he believes Baker handled the situation properly. She didn't have to die and he didn't have to get shot, Gooch said in an interview. As she watched video of the deadly incident recorded on Baker's body camera, Gooch said she was concerned for both the officer and her daughter as she saw Holbert exiting the vehicle at the start of the traffic stop. So, okay, now we're saying the problem here is that not that the cop did anything wrong, but that the woman, when she was pulled over at the traffic stop, got out of her car. Why was she out of her car? Gooch said. I don't know. It's a question for her. It's not a question for the cops. Explaining she's always understood that police don't typically allow someone to exit the car as an officer approaches. Holbert fled a parking lot Friday morning at the intersection of Bridge Churchpike and Ewing Drive after shooting Baker in the torso. Having sustained injuries from the gunfire, Holbert crashed roughly a block away before being pronounced dead. So they watched the footage, and then they talk more about the life, you know, and the mother, and this sort of how terrible it all is and how unfortunate it all is. Gooch said she was stunned to see Baker searching Holbert's belongings without appearing to take precautions to remain in control of the situation. And after he determined she was not the man Baker was seeking in the first place. Now, what was happening here? This woman was driving a car that belonged to a man with outstanding arrest warrants on felony drug charges. So the guy pulls her over. Apparently, Holbert, this in the article, Holbert repeatedly ignored some of Baker's commands as he attempted to remain cordial with her. The officer declined to stop her while she went back into the car multiple times to retrieve various items. It's like he let her do what she wanted to do, Gooch said. The officer is now being accused of inappropriate behavior because he gave her the opportunity to shoot him. That was the inappropriate, terrible thing for which this officer should be investigated, is he wasn't harsh enough with her. Now, if he had been too harsh, there would be riots, right? If they were too harsh, you would have extortionist organizations like BLM coming down and shaking down corporate America for tens of millions more in donations. And you'd hear this, that he was a racist. But so he doesn't do that. He's actually too lenient. And now this woman and the newspaper are accusing him of inappropriate behavior because he was too lenient. Why'd you let her shoot you? How wrong of you to let her shoot you? If the races were reversed, the story would not read that way. That is an institutional sort of racism. That is the sort of thing we see in our media. And it is simply why when you hear these claims from these hucksters, people like Robin DiAngelo, who is making untold sums of money as a race hustler, people like Ibram Kendi, when you hear them talk about institutional racism, you want to say, yes, there are institutional racial problems. No question. There's affirmative action, right? That which disadvantages certain people based on their race and gives advantages to other people solely based on their race. And there are, even beyond that, there are racial issues in the country. No question about it. Racial issues that are being inflamed by people such as D'Angelo and Kendi and by the mainstream media, which never ever plays fair. But it's because in this country, the absolute worst thing you can be called is a racist. It's why the whole institutional racism thing is so important to the left. It's why they're trying to push this indoctrination. It's the worst thing you can possibly be called in this country. I think that's an evidence, by the way, that it's not a white supremacist country, right? Is that the worst thing you could be called is a white supremacist. So, and the only race that you're allowed to smear in public, that you're actually encouraged to, are white people, and specifically white guys, right? That's why there's no patriarchy. The only group that you're able to smear is dudes. So you've got all of this built in, and it bleeds into other areas of public policy as well. I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Michael Knowles Show. To check out the full episode, hit the link in the description or download the Michael Knowles Show wherever you listen to podcasts.